Good morning, everybody. Here we go, going live. Good morning. Welcome to the Wifey Wake Up No Makeup podcast. Funny thing, yesterday I said that, I thought I said that, but I said the no Wifey Wake Up, no wake up. So clearly I was not quite awake yet. So I thought that was really funny when I saw that in the recordings. Even closed captions was verified that I indeed said that. So I hope you caught that. That was funny too. So today let's talk about wifey models. Now that today, hopefully I'm awake at 6 a.m. and hopefully you are too, and off to a great start. So wifey models, a lot of times we call this role models, but I'm just going to use the general term models. And there were times in my life where I was really fortunate to have some really great models of being a wife. You could also use the negative models as what not to do. I wouldn't focus on that, but just like take notes, just as a quick note there. But think of the models that you had in your life of a wife, or a wifey, as I like to call it. And so think of that model. Who is that wifey model for you? And hopefully you have multiples. And I'm going to share a few with you so you get some inspiration, hopefully. So one that I think of is my Aunt Mary. And I didn't see her very much, but here's the thing. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take many. My cat here is, of course, playing with cords now. And so if we think about it, think about ourselves as we're adults, but there's still an inner child in us. And that inner child also from way back in the day, maybe not as far back for you, but when we were a child, and we do have those memories and we do have those lessons, those things ingrained in us. So I think of Mary, and I didn't see her a lot growing up, but like I was saying, it doesn't take much. And it doesn't take much exposure. Sometimes even just a little bit of exposure or time with them is really good, because it really makes an impression. So anyways, when I think of Mary and the examples that just a moment, I gotta put my cat out, otherwise I'm going to be bending over all the time. So here we go. There you can meet Joya. Here's Joya, big kitten. Scoot on out. There we go. Okay. Sometimes she's just extra active in the morning. Okay, so Aunt Mary. I remember we would stay some weekends at the cabin with them. My parents would bring up their motorhome, and for a couple summers we did this, and that was really, really fortunate, the time that we got to spend with them and see another couple and how they interacted. Now, that's of course not how maybe any of them thought about it, but that's certainly what it ended up being for me. And here I saw a strong couple, but a more traditional couple, I would say. And I got to see Mary and how she acted around men. So of course there was her husband, but then they had 3 boys. And of course the boys weren't men at that point, but there's still like a certain energy. And I think that women who have boys as children, and all boys, there's certainly you can't deny there's a different dynamic. And so I think I learned how to be around men and still be feminine, and play a supportive role. I think that was probably the biggest example. And that's going to come up often in my other examples as well. So from Aunt Mary, I mean, I learned a number of things. She would bring us into her kitchen and teach us how to make strawberry pies from fresh strawberries. But as far as being a wife in particular, I would say how to be with men, especially when men might be more gruff or to the point. But I also got to see her and my Uncle Larry interact which was really wonderful. Something that I noticed that was different about them is they did not use sarcasm. They would use humor, and they would have fun and tease, but they wouldn't use that biting sarcasm that was actually so common around me. And I don't think I noticed it consciously, but certainly looking back and also knowing them as an adult, I think just having that example was really, really helpful. So another example, I could say many things. I love Mary and Larry very much, and I'm really appreciative for that time together. So I'll probably cry about each one of these, by the way. Another example is the year I spent abroad in Brazil, and I had 3 host families, and they were really wonderful. I mean, first of all, to welcome in a teenager, which one of my host moms told me about the process of going through and contemplating whether to host a student, and as she was talking about it with family, I believe it was with family or friends, they were saying exchange students are just teenagers gone wild. Like they're not even your kids. You can't punish them or whatever. You can't control them, and but she proceeded, or they did, obviously. So I had 3 host families, and so I got and this was the point of the Rotary Exchange as well. I was a Rotary Exchange student, which I, again, am extremely, extremely grateful. And the point of the Rotary Exchange and why they place you with multiple families is so that you get that cultural experience, the difference of being with multiple families, especially over the time period of a year. Now, especially I had each one of my families was wonderful in their own ways. And so the first family, when it was time to move to the second family's house, which was just right across the street, incidentally, I didn't want to. I mean, they were just wonderful, but I got something from each of them. But overall, I would say there's definitely a dynamic of teamwork. They were busy families. Each of them had kids. They're all very busy. The first 2 families, the moms were stay-at-home moms, and the third family, they were both working parents. And just to see the cooperation that had to happen. And when they did get together, just the love and the unity, it was really wonderful to see that in another family and in another culture. And also to have that shared in a way with me. And so I think one of the things that I learned from those moms in particular, those wives, they were moms to me, so I guess that kind of goes one and the same, is the welcoming into the family dynamic. I think that was really helpful for me, is to see how these wives and moms, brought, even in a very busy life, how they brought their children and their family in and helped to kind of connect the dots throughout the day. There are so many things I think I don't even know that I gleaned from them, but certainly it was a blessing to go to Brazil. The Brazilians are wonderful, loving, animated, fun people, and I certainly needed that in my life. So going off a little bit on a tangent, that's not specifically wifey stuff, but that was certainly a dynamic that I needed, I think, in my life. And then another example, and I've made videos about this before, is I think I loved, do you remember Little House on the Prairie, the books and then the TV series? I just loved that series, and I think most girls my age did watch it. And it was just, nice little stories, mom, pa, and the family, and of course, it was based on the books. And I'm sure there are incidences that were from the books. I read the books as well. And of course had the image in my mind of Mom, Pa, and Laura, and Mary, and so forth. And again, I think what I got out of that is so much what it's like to, that it's necessary to work together. And I mean, living on the prairie, living out in the middle of nowhere, and and treacherous times, and times are much more dangerous than I think you could say nowadays. And it just really took teamwork. And that so much of your life was really based on living, just living and surviving, that it really took teamwork. There wasn't time for little squabbles about little things, right? You had to do the big things that really mattered. Now, of course, I'm mentioning the a not real life example, but that's important too. What were the role models? Who were the examples in your life that were maybe not in person? They could be TV, music, and so forth, because they may not be real life role models, but they certainly have an impact on our consciousness and what we think of and see of as a wonderful couple. I think the other thing I really enjoyed about the Little House on the Prairie series also is that they often put Ma and Pa in a light of being this lovely couple, right? Just love each other, getting through the hard stuff, and they're just the Ma and Pa you'd like to have out on the prairie, especially Pa, right? He's just a great guy, and I think I'm grateful that that was a model that I had available to me. It'd be interesting to go back and watch now with my adult eyes and think of in the white from the wifey point of view. But I think that one overall there was some positive role modeling in that one as well. And the last one I'm going to bring up is someone that I didn't know in childhood, but I came to know as soon as I came into my family, my now family, that I married into, and that's my mother-in-law. And another absolute blessing in my life. I mean, I hear so many people talk about their mother-in-laws being not so wonderful people to be around, and boy, did I get lucky in this department. And I would say also as for a role model in being a wife. And again, I think what stands out as I was writing these down, I noticed there's a common thread, and it really suits my personality, I think. But just interesting exercise. I'm sure you'll find it interesting as well. And by the way, this applies whether you're single or you're married. If you're single, it will help you to see how you are in your next relationship. Now, of course, as you're dating, you're not acting as a wife, but you'll end up doing little things that demonstrate how you would be as a wife. And so it's important to be aware of those traits even as you're dating. And if you're married, I mean, this just can be mind-blowing and amazing to notice, especially if problems are coming up, is to notice, did you have the role models that you needed, or if you're looking back, that you would want to have had, thinking about how that is prompting you to be as an adult. So even going back, if you were to be able to choose those role models that you had as a wife for being a wife, would you choose different role models? And you still can, is what I'm saying, is you'll have to put more concentration, time, and attention in modeling those current models to kind of erase what you have in your memory. So I was really fortunate to marry into a family with a wonderful mother-in-law. She obviously became my mother-in-law, and for an example of how to be a wife. Now, they ran a business together for years, my mother-in-law and father-in-law. And so what I saw coming in, which I just simply didn't have an example of in my family because my parents both worked jobs, was working together in a business. And there's so much more intimate, intricate, intense sometimes relationship when you work together in business as well. And while they had one of the things that was helpful is that they had very specific roles. And one thing I remember hearing my mother-in-law say is, what went on in the shop, that was his business. I did my business, and if he needed me to run and pick up some parts or something like that, I ran and did that. So, what I learned was the delineation of roles, and that it was okay. And especially in the era that I grew up, which was more blending of the roles, and even to the extent of kind of poo-pooing that men and women would have separate roles and even sex-based roles, it was helpful to see and hear that, that's totally okay. Because to a certain degree, well, to a large degree, you just need to do what needs to be done to get things done. And also the attitude, that I would say would be the biggest one, because she's of the examples that I brought up, she's been the one that I've been around the most throughout my life. And I think that is one of the greatest things that we can do as women, as an example, especially to the little ones around us, is the demeanor that we have with them and how we are around them, because that's how they learn, that's how they pick it up. And so specifically in the wifey role, and my mother-in-law, I'm just talking about more specifically the business role, but there are many other situations, was her demeanor. She was never, if she had to do something for her husband or for the business, I've never seen my mother-in-law just, or any kind of thing like that. And if she does, she keeps it private. But a lot of the times if people are doing that privately, it will come out publicly in front of people. So there's just, I'm so grateful that I've had wonderful examples in my life. And I'm sure you can, even if it might take a moment to think of, if you can think of some too, and maybe they're not an entirely wonderful example, but you can take pieces. And one thing to look at also is the relationship. The relationship she has with her husband, is that a relationship that you would like to have? Even modeling the relationship. So even preparing for this podcast was really helpful in noting not only the people, but specifically what I gleaned from them. And I hope that, when you're driving to work or running errands, that you can spend a few minutes and think about who are the wonderful examples, wifey role models in your life as well. And I hope it brings a smile to your face. Maybe it prompts you to give them a call or write a note. There's a lot to be thankful for. When we really put our mind to it, we can think of the little things that are wonderful in our lives. So have a wonderful day, everybody. If you found this helpful, share it with a friend. If it brought a friend to mind, please send it their way. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye-bye.